What's the deal? It's your boy Original, back with another one for y'all, man. Now check this out today on my YouTube channel. I was about to watch this video why the U.S. almost ran out of meat, man. I thought this video might be a little funny. I thought it might be some facts I wanted to, that interest me. I don't eat a lot of meat, you know what I'm saying? I like chicken, beef, from time to time. But I don't fuck with pork, not too much, not at all, for real. Unless I'm out on vacation, they might have some bacon somewhere, for breakfast. That might mean the most pork I ever indulge in, but yeah, my whole diet changed when I got older. But we about to see how the U.S. almost ran out of meat, because I know a lot of motherfuckers still eat meat, you know what I'm saying, hamburgers, all type of shit. So we just about to see what they talk about. It's your boy YON WORLD. About to hop straight into this reaction, man. Let's go.
Should people expect shortages or price increases for certain meats in the weeks ahead?
Several beef factories have been forced to shut down. Nearly 24 plants are functioning under...
And that's the thing, like, all of these motherfucking farmers, like this little corona shit, that shit hit heavy. This shit hit heavy. It hit every industry heavy. You know what I'm saying? It really hit farmers, for real. That's why, the SBA was giving out all them EIDL grants and them loans to agricultural workers because, all these facilities shutting down.
Capacity.
There is going to be a shortage.
It's been a volatile and crushing few months for the meat industry. In March, the shelter-in-place orders and shutdowns caused a complete shift in purchasing behavior. Panicked consumers moved from spending more than half their food expenditure outside the home to mostly eating at home. On top of that, an entire market was cut off when restaurants and schools were shuttered.
Damn.
By April, the coronavirus started wreaking havoc on workers in processing plants.
These are very different causes that created different sorts of disruptions in the sector. Both of them really unprecedented in terms of any other events that we've ever seen.
Sick workers meant a broken supply chain. Dozens of plants shut their doors, and producers had to keep their live animals on hold. For the month of April, production of beef and pork dropped by 21% and 11% respectively. Some farmers resorted to euthanasia.
Why does it look like Play-Doh coming out that shit? Y'all see that? That don't look like some
Percent and 11% respectively.
Play-Doh.
Some farmers resorted to euthanasia.
You can't just stop pigs from being born and continuing to grow. And so when you have a group that gets stuck in the finisher and can't move on to the packer, you then have the group behind them that's knocking on the door.
Despite President Trump's use of the Defense Production Act, many meat packers struggled to stay open. Live cattle and pork prices dropped by 25 to 40%, while wholesale prices more than doubled. Near the end of April, meat prices at the grocery store had spiked 8%.
We saw the largest daily increase and the largest daily decrease in the past 20 years within just the past couple of months.
Recent studies estimate 2020 losses to be
2020 is a movie. There's so much that happened in 2020 that nobody expected. Nobody expected none of this to happen. You know what I'm saying? So much unexpected shit happened in 2020. I feel like I could hit the lottery in 2020. I might go around and go play the lottery and just win, this year. This might be the year I just win because there's so much unexpected energy. Like, that's possible. You know what I'm saying? There's so much crazy energy going on in 2020, man. Like, who would have expected this shit? From Kobe, to Rona, to, the month of Great Recession, the riots. Like, we almost went to World War III. Crazy.
$2.6 billion for the beef industry, and nearly $5 billion for hog farmers. But the supply chain's fragility and the repercussions that have followed could last for months, if not years. So how did this happen?
Damn, months, if not years. Like, I think that shit about
meat is a huge business in the U.S. It's no coincidence that a burger is the quintessential American food.
We had a big backyard barbecue.
Hey, I know one thing for certain. You know what I'm saying? One thing for sure, one thing for certain. McDonald's ain't running out of no meat. I don't give a fuck. Burger King run out. Wendy's, McDonald's ain't running out no meat.
Hot dogs and hamburgers?
Americans consume more meat and poultry than any other country in the world, about 220 pounds per year. The meat industry is as complex as it is diverse. While the basics of the supply chain is pretty much the same across the board, the nuances within each animal type or each phase are manifold.
Poultry, it's almost entirely a completely vertically integrated industry, which means that the integrator, think Tyson or Sanderson Farm, owns the chicken from the day it's born until it's sold to a grocery store. You have farmers who contract with those integrators to grow out the animals, but they never own the animals. They provide a barn, but even the feed is provided by the integrator. And about 40% of hog producers operate in this kind of production contract. There are still independent hog producers, and how they sell those hogs depends on their relationships with the packers. Hogs are sort of in the middle of chicken and cattle, where cattle is a much less vertically integrated sector.
It takes a cow anywhere from 21 to 30 months from the time it's conceived until it's ready.
I'll never go full vegan. I need to eat some chicken. I ain't gonna hold you up. I'm gonna eat some chicken.
For processing. During that time, the animals can go through multiple owners, leaving producers with small margins and little room for sudden shocks. In 2019, the average price of live cattle was $1.20 per pound, while the average wholesale price was $2.23 per pound. That precise price gap has led to long-standing conflict between producers and processors.
Ranchers and packers have always not liked each other, particularly the ranchers basically not trusting and assuming that the packers are manipulating markets. There is very little research evidence that supports that.
While the live side of the supply chain involves thousands of small and medium-sized businesses, the packers and processors are dominated by four key players: JBS, Tyson Foods, Cargill, and Smithfield Foods. They control 50 to 83% of supply depending on the animal. In 2019, the industry revenue was $230 billion, nearly twice that of the live side.
It's a high-cost, high-capital business, and also working capital, as you're buying livestock every day.
238 billion? I knew they was eating, but they eating. You know what I'm saying? They eat real. Hold on, let me close some of these.
Hey, and so it's a very difficult thing just to start and be successful at, and that's partly led to this high degree of concentration because of how critical it is the economies of scale, and consequently that's why we've got fewer and larger plants.
The meat industry has experienced two crises during the coronavirus pandemic. While dramatic, the first was short-lived. Supply chains adjusted to restaurant and school closures and shifts in consumer behavior within the first month.
More meat plants shutting down tonight as workers get sick.
The second wave has exposed the meat processing plant's vulnerability to the virus in unimaginable ways.
Put in place guidance that these plants were taking to protect their workers. That hadn't been done soon enough, and so now we have the current problem.
The CDC states that nearly 5,000 workers have contracted the virus, and 20 have died. But according to the Midwest Center for Investigative Reporting, who use news reports, press releases, state data, and original reporting, the numbers are much more grim. As of June 4th, at least 20,400 workers had tested positive, and 74 had died.
I think there are some legitimate issues relative to the worker situation, particularly on the front end of this thing. I'm not sure anybody really understood sort of how to be prepared. These meatpacking plants, by their very nature, are extremely difficult to manage a human disease like this.
Since early April, at least 48 processing plants have closed down temporarily or indefinitely. Compared to last year, production dropped by 34% for the week ending May 2nd. For some hog and chicken farmers,
my computer's glitching.
euthanasia was the last resort. Many didn't have the space, and putting on more fat decreases their value. Cattle is more flexible when it comes to weight gain, but for all animal producers, it boils down to economics.
They can only stand this for so long, so they might go out of business, or they may just get into sort of a financial hole that will take them perhaps years to recover from.
By May,
we're going to run out of PPE, and I'm saying, well, how do we do this? We just got to get the patient to self-collect the specimen. This test is meant for our medical assistants, our nurses, and our providers to be safer.
By May 1st, beef wholesale prices were up 67% and live cattle was down 24%. Pork wholesale prices increased by 100%.
There was a number of cattle that were coming through the system, and hogs too, that were scheduled to be marketed at whatever price, and then all of a sudden there's just basically no demand for some of those cattle because the packing plants simply cannot process them. And of course, at the same time, the cattle prices were going down because the packers simply couldn't demand all of the cattle that were out there. That's what's got producers so upset right now. They see their price going down at the same time the meat price is going up, and they think that means that something nefarious is going on. And it's absolutely not. It's because those marketing costs have gone up dramatically, and the supply and demand in the two markets are quite different right now.
On April 26th, Tyson Foods CEO John Tyson took out a full-page ad in multiple newspapers warning the nation of a meat supply shortage. He wrote, "The government bodies at the national, state, country, and city levels must unite in a comprehensive, thoughtful, and productive way to allow our team members to work in safety without fear, panic, or worry." 2 days later, President Trump signed an executive order to invoke the Defense Production Act. Now the plants were deemed essential infrastructure and had to remain open. More importantly, the order protected companies from legal liability if workers got sick. The industry praised him, while the workers' unions condemned his decision. By the second week of May, prices started to bounce back as more and more plants opened up. As of June 4th, wholesale prices for cattle were $272.26 per 100 pounds of cattle. That's down 43% from May 12th. Live cattle prices were $105, while live hog prices were still lagging.
These workers have to stay more spaced out in the plants. That basically means you can't process as many cattle. So the capacity, quote, full capacity now is probably going to be maybe 90% of what it was before, at least until this fall.
It's unclear if the worst is over for the meat supply chain or that the coronavirus pandemic has exposed a fragile supply chain that will require some serious adjustments. One thing is for sure. Having so much hinge on a few companies' ability to get meat into consumers' hands leaves the supply chain vulnerable in times like these. It remains to be seen whether it's the right decision to open many of the plants.
Whenever you have a big labor challenge and it drives up the costs of maintaining a labor force, or it causes supply chain disruptions, you see automation. If you go to a McDonald's now, you can order from a person or you can order from a board. Could you see the same thing in large-scale processing? Absolutely.
In the meantime, alternative meats are having a surgence despite their higher price point. Between mid-March and the end of May, the Beyond Meat stock price increased by more than 130%. Sales of fresh meat alternatives grew by more than 250% for the 11-week period ending May 16th. Even before the pandemic, experts recognized huge potential in the alternative meat industry. Ultimately, it all depends on how our lives and the economy recovers. If unemployment continues to rise or even lags for years, people will trade down from more expensive to cheaper cuts of meat, perhaps less meat altogether.
Is this a once-in-a-century event? Should we respond accordingly? Or is this something that we need to adapt to going forward because it's going to be with us? If we think it's going to be with us, then yeah, it's a pretty fragile supply chain, mainly because we focused on giving consumers what they want, high-quality food at the cheapest price possible. If we were to back away from that and make it a little bit maybe more robust supply chain, maybe a little bit smaller processors, it's going to cost consumers a little bit more, so there's a trade-off there.
Hopefully that, the immense stress that was on the sector, at least we've got some release valve now that processing facilities are moving again. There have been a number of large packing plants that haven't had to close during this time. There's no guarantee that their workers won't become ill, but hopefully we've learned.
I don't know why, but I'm hungry now. I need some more. I need a motherfucking 10-piece. I want a Wingstop close. Wingstop still open? They open till midnight. Wingstop don't close till midnight. And I'm blowed. It's your boy Yon World. So, any thoughts on this? Alright, so we about to run out of meat. You know what I'm saying? Trump signed an executive order protecting the meat industry as an essential business. You know, offering basically health care to anybody who gets sick. You know, and you know the place of business, if you get sick, they'll also be compensated, you know, for your time off. But yeah, productions was at an all-time high about a month ago, and now it's starting to balance back out. So yeah, we gonna be good. This just was a good title. You know, we almost ran out. We almost ran out of meat. You know what I'm saying? It was almost up there. But y'all know, you know, God working mysterious ways. So, you know, right when you think, ain't it's the end of the road, this shit about to be over, you know, some shit just bop. Just bop. You know what I'm saying? And just remind you, you gotta know yourself. So, it's your boy Yon World. Make sure you leave a like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. I'm about to order me some Wingstop. I'm hungry now. This is your boy Yon World. I'm out. Peace.